Well, hey guys, welcome back to Relentless Talk Radio. This is Digital Evolution, an entrepreneur's guide to evolving online. And both Brandy and I are in new spaces this week.
True story.
Right? The true story. So I'm a unicorn this week, and you're number one.
There we go. Original.
So today we're going to be talking about creating a plan. So last week we talked about the job descriptions for at least one of my brands, and today we're going to be talking about making a plan to deliver my message and just generally for people to deliver their message online. So I'm going to let you take the lead from here. Stating a spade is a spade. COVID has been very interesting for all of us. We've all been kind of adjusting and readjusting and adjusting and readjusting. And so this is real-time readjustment happening real time, right? You're in Colorado, right?
Yep.
And I'm here in Phoenix in a different space. So let's talk about creating a plan.
Yes. So last week we talked job descriptions, and if you guys missed that, check out the previous episode because this is something you really want to do before you try to make a plan. If you make a plan without really first discussing what the purpose is, then it's hard to make a plan. It's just really hard. So now that we know
like what you're planning for, I mean, it makes perfect sense, right?
Yes. If you don't have the big picture put together, then when you get down to okay, what are we going to execute? You'll find yourself spinning in circles. And so if at any moment you find yourself spinning in circles about, what am I going to do? Or how am I going to do it? Or is this a thing? Or do I yada, yada? That's probably a good indicator that you maybe haven't done the big picture thinking. So because you don't have any guideposts.
And I think people think that big picture thinking is like a waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
People are constantly telling me, Michelle, like you're thinking too big. And I'm like, well, if you don't think big, you're not going to get there. I really believe with starting with the end in mind. And if you don't know where you're going or what your point is, then how can you plan? You're just
and some people get like a little anxious about that because they're like, well, what if that's not what if it changes? Great.
Awesome.
It evolves.
It's thus digital evolution. And in fact, you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable with evolution because in today's world, things are evolving so quickly and even more so now than ever. I was listening to NPR yesterday on the way to the gym, and they were talking about how much more money Zoom has made in the past several months, right? So it was like 160% growth or something crazy like that. They weren't planning on that. So they had to evolve. That's a really great reason to evolve, that you have so many customers over time. But if you've been on Zoom, they've had to go, okay, we need to add a waiting room. We need to add a passcode. I mean, they had to evolve really quickly. They didn't sit around and say, you know what, I don't know. It wasn't part of our plan to evolve, to have a pandemic. So I guess we're just going to not do that. You have to evolve, right?
Well, and also sometimes when you set out the big picture thinking, and you kind of put a timeline, sometimes those timelines collapse. I'm sure that Zoom thought that they would be adopted at a massive amounts of people would be using them, and they probably had aspirations to be used by institutions like universities and elementary schools. They had no idea that might happen all at once.
Right, 100%. So Zoom has had has had some growing pains a little bit. But let me tell you what, I think they've done a great job at evolving quickly and efficiently online, and we haven't had any down. It didn't blow up the system to have the whole planet now using Zoom.
Yeah, so there's struggles. Like there's always going to be challenges. Sometimes the challenges are because of growth, and sometimes the challenges are because of contraction, or sometimes the challenges are because you got to change boats in the middle of the river. But there's always going to be challenges.
100%, all the time. So
big picture thinking, and now we're going to create a plan.
Okay.
One of the biggest stumbling blocks that has come up when I work with clients to create a plan, and even when I was working in product development to create a plan, is that when the ideas start flowing, it's like, and then we could, and what about this and this? And at some point you got to be like, okay, we need to have a plan that is launchable, because you can't do everything on day one.
Right.
So you have a big vision. You're going to work to the vision, but you also know you can't do everything on day one. So how do you know?
And you got to fight scope creep too. I'm victim of this as well. It's like, if you're an entrepreneur, you're an idea person. So once you start getting into the plan, like, well, and then you got to stop. Like at this point, I've told people, like, okay, I know what my plan is. I'm not adding anything more to a little while. I mean, I'll come back to that crazy thing you just telling me is a good idea, or the thing that I'm telling myself is a good idea. But right now I'm going to go with plan A and add plan Z down the road.
Exactly. And so a concept that we use in product development, and a concept that I think is useful as an entrepreneur, is the idea of a minimum viable product, sometimes called an MVP. So the idea here is that there's going to be a version of this that will get you out the door. There's going to be a version of this that meets the criteria for a foundation and will get you started. So as you're thinking through, do I do this? Do I do that? If you keep in mind the idea of minimum viable product, it can help you prune and get very clear on where you want to start. And when the scope creep, when the new ideas come up, you can go, wait, is this MVP? Is this minimum viable product? Is this going to get us out the door?
Right.
So I think it's a useful tool, framework, to keep in mind as you're putting together your plan.
And you know what? I have a little note section on my notes where if I get a really great idea, I just put the great idea in my great idea notes folder, and I'll come back to it later. Don't lose the great ideas, because the great ideas are going to hit you. Just write them down and then leave them there for later. Like, no, this is not MVP, but this is something I can come back with to look at later. And I'll go from there. Don't lose them. Write them down.
Yes, write them down. And you can start with what works, and you're going to build on it. You're going to go, okay, here's what works, and then we're going to upgrade to good, and then we're going to upgrade to better, and then we're going to upgrade to best. And you can even lay those things out in the beginning. Like, okay, when we're really firing on all cylinders, what does this look like? Great. So you capture those ideas, you capture that vision, but you start with a plan that doesn't. So part of doing it this way is also, we don't want you to feel overwhelmed. Right. Because sometimes we have all this like, oh, this is going to be amazing. And then we start to get into the details and we go, oh my God.
There's a lot to do. We even were talking about that this morning when we were talking about our Go Digital Faster membership site that we're building to kind of house digital evolution, the video lab, the photo lab, and Relentless Talk Radio together. And, yes, we need a logo, but we don't need it right away.
Nope.
We can get started and we can create an interesting graphic and then leave the logo for plan B. Like, you don't have to do everything at once. And if you wait for all the little details to be done, you're never going to get started. Right.
And as you move, you will learn things. Right. So when we talk about a plan, so specifically, we're gonna keep using your Choose Healthy Change brand. Right. And under that brand, you have several channels. So you've got a website, you have a Facebook page, you have several Facebook groups, several Facebook Messenger channels, and an Instagram, which is like less on the priority.
Right.
Okay. So when it comes to, we talked about what role each of those plays, and now we take that role, we use that as the purpose for each channel, and then we talk about the audience. So as we put together the plan, this is taking the big picture thinking and then starting to break it down so that we can get through what are we going to do today, and what are we going to do tomorrow, and how do we know if we were successful this month?
So just to give people a little recap, I have several brands, and the brand that we're choosing to focus on right now, because this is my lead revenue brand, is called Choose Healthy Change. So Choose Healthy Change is my health and fitness nutrition brand. And so I have, as you just said, a couple different ways I communicate with people. And so that's the one we're going to focus on today.
Right. So when we were talking about this last time, it seemed like your Facebook page and your Facebook group are sort of the first places people might encounter you. If they Google you, they're also going to find your website. So as we think about each of those, okay, we know the audience. The audience of Choose Healthy Change. You just want to recap the audience for people for a second about who would be coming to look at Choose Healthy Change.
Who the audience would be? The audience are people that I'm meeting through my relationships with my Relentless Talk Radio brand, sometimes through my personal relationships on my personal profile, and through my Relentless Business Alliance partners who happen to be trainers or massage therapists or somehow related to the wellness industry. So those are the three locations where I'm meeting my ideal client, my avatar. Okay. And my avatar is someone that's in their mid-50s, like I am, who is used to be an athlete, maybe not, but more likely maybe. Okay. And they have, had the kids, had the life, and they're ready to take their health back on a deep level. Or they're just people that have been, talking about losing that weight and getting healthy for a really long time, and they just haven't found the right tribe to do it with. So that's my avatar. Someone like myself who's in their mid-50s is ready to take their health back. Okay. So I'm meeting them in a variety of channels, and I'm inviting them to join me at my Choose Healthy Change group. And then right now, my Choose Healthy Change URL is forwarding to my nutrition partner's kind of branded website for myself. But I'm rebuilding my website because I made the decision to change my hosting partner to SiteGround. And I'm rebuilding that website over at SiteGround in WordPress.
Cool. Okay. So as you think about, that's a perfect thing. If you're rebuilding a website, there's a lot of decisions about a website. And the reason we keep coming back to purpose and audience is those two things usually answer all the rest of the questions. So the plan that then also includes, okay, what's the content? What sort of information are you going to put on the website? What sort of information are you putting on the page? What sort of information are you posting in the group? These are all questions that people will end up having. Your plan will tell you. Right.
So are you asking me a question?
No, I was just making sure we were, so your plan will tell you. So a plan for a website is, all right, we know who the audience is. We know what the purpose is. The purpose is to basically bring them into the tribe of your new site. We know, based on that, we kind of know what information we would need to give them. So it's about you, about the tribe, about what they can get there, and then getting them to do something, which is probably join a Facebook group, right?
Yep, I want them to join the group so they get more information about the solutions that I offer.
Right.
So that when they're ready to actually take action, they're empowered with the information. Because one of the things I know from being a trainer for 36 years is that people will say they're ready, but they're not really ready. They're getting ready to get ready. They're actually getting ready to get ready to get ready.
And we all get stuck there in various places. Like people in business are a lot of times getting ready to get ready to get ready.
Yeah. Yes. And I think that also with your health and fitness, you will fluctuate back and forth, which is why we yo-yo so much. So being able to continue to drip good information and reminding information and, hey, oh yeah, remember that you had this idea that you needed to get healthy information. The Facebook is about continuing to remind people what their goals are so that when they are ready to take action, they can clearly get to my website, which is going to give them more information about events that I'm doing, both on social media and in person. So I do events on Facebook. I do events in person, like hiking, those types of things. And also to give them a way to connect to my nutrition partner.
Right. So then there's the clear path. So your plan should include the clear path to the end result. So you've already thought through, all right, what are we doing? How are we serving the audience? What kind of content are we providing? And then when do we publish? How do we publish it? What does it look like? Comes through in each channel, because on a website, you may have blog posts or pages about information. Whereas on Facebook, in a group, you're going to have specific kind of posts. And you're probably going to have some sort of cadence about, like, maybe it's Hot Tip Tuesday or that type of thing. So your audience inside of a group.
Yep. Which is what I'm building out an Airtable will be a schedule of what I'll be posting every day in my Facebook group. And the posts are going to be a combination of my own personal flavor and also my nutrition partner's flavor. And then also inviting the users of my nutrition product and the distributors of my nutrition product to participate. So there'll be some action steps that I'm taking where I'm involving others in the posting. So all of that will be built out in Airtable. So on Monday, when I go to my Monday task, it'll say post this, remind so and so to post that. And I also am adding a blog to my Choose Healthy Change website, which will be basically telling people what I'm telling them. and driving them to the things that I just described. So driving them to the Facebook page, driving them to the events that I'm doing, and giving them really great information to keep dripping on them so they can remember that they had a goal in this area. So they'll be posting schedules for myself, for others. They'll be reaching out posts, and there'll also be blog posts.
Yes, so you have a content plan that then distributes in each of your channels, everything driving to the Facebook group, and then the Facebook group giving them those reminders, and then the ability to take action when they're ready. So you've formulated this plan.
And I also have noticed over time that you have messenger ways of communication, and then you have posting in your group communication, then you have posting on your page. So those 3 levels of communication plus email marketing. Okay, so I'm emailing people, I'm messaging them on Messenger, I'm posting on Facebook, I'm posting on my website. I used to think that if I communicated one way in one thing and one way in another thing and one way, right, I would not bother people with the same information. But what I've discovered is some people want to get their information on Facebook page. Some people are going to look at Messenger. Some people are going to look at their email, and some people are going to look at my website with my blog. So I'm taking those 4 communications with one topic. Let's say I have a new product that is being launched, and I'm communicating the same message slightly differently with the same purpose on each platform, because I know that if I do that, I have more likelihood of hitting all of the people that I'm doing business with.
Yes. So this idea that as human beings, we have to hear something 7 times before we get it is even more true online. We can probably multiply that by 7 online.
And people say the overwhelm is real.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're not communicating something you really want people to hear in at least 4 different ways, they are not going to hear you. It's worse than ever. It used to be that people had to see what you were communicating 3 times in order for it to be remembered. But it's worse now because we have so much communication going on. So you have to communicate the same thing in a lot of different ways, similarly over a longer period of time to have people go, oh, you do health and nutrition? Yeah. Right.
Yes, you will feel like you're annoyed with yourself by the time you're done trying to tell people. But people, when you have these multiple lines of communication and when you have these multiple channels that you are communicating through, yes, it's a really good idea to have one topic that you're distributing across. And like you said, in a slightly different angle. Like you're not going to put a whole blog post in a Messenger post. Like that doesn't make any sense. But if you just created a blog post and you've got a Messenger thread going on with somebody that's, say it's like this person's a cycling enthusiast, and what you just published was sort of like nutrition and it had some information about cyclists, then you would say, hey, as a cyclist, you might be interested in this particular blog post because it's talking about nutrition. And then you'd include a link to the blog post. Like you can use the same content in multiple ways, but you will use it slightly differently.
And another thing that I didn't mention, we're talking digital here. However, I also use I send cards out. So I use direct mail. Mm-hmm. And my direct mail campaign, is in conjunction with my digital campaign. Right. But my direct mail campaign, I create digitally. So it's still a digital thing because I do it right in my phone. I do it right on my laptop. I literally have a drip campaign that is set up there to be able to, birthdays, anniversaries, etc. People get cards in the mail because if you're communicating digitally and then they get a card from you, they're going to go, oh yeah, she was like sending me something and I did let me go look at that. Right. So right. Adding a print component also is a really great way to build relationships.
Right. And maybe this also comes back to that minimum viable, good, better, best. Like you don't get overwhelmed with like, oh, that's a great idea. How do I do that from phase 1? Phase 1 is if you haven't built a website, build a website. If you haven't started posting regularly on your channels, put together your plan. Yep. Make sure you're communicating. Make sure you're communicating in a way that is delivering value and driving people to an end result. Because the other thing that has happened on Facebook is, or even any social media channel, is that people will provide great value. Great, yes, you're doing it right. And then they won't have that person use that information to an end result. At some point, it's your responsibility to move people along because we don't like change and we don't like to move, but we do want the thing at the end.
Right. 100%.
Yeah.
And I like this idea of good works, good, better, best. Because we all have so much going on. I have so much going on right now. We all do with COVID. My mom, taking care of my mom. My dad just passed, right? So I have the works and the good kind of back and forth right now, right? I'm getting ready for the better. You know, that this month and next month, I'm going to kick into the better space. And then I would say a couple months after that, I'm going to be in the best space. And I always try to remember to think of my end goal. So for me, the end goal is a number. And I think for all, if you're in business, your end goal is a number when you're really honest with yourself. Yeah, you want to be a service, but you have a mortgage and a car payment and things to take care of. So my end goal number is up here all the time. And being able to, this works right now because I'm in the middle of moving and I've got this going on and COVID and the whole thing. And then, okay, this is good. But then getting to the point where you get to the better and the best. But if you don't do the works and the good, you're not going to get the lessons that you learn in that space, so you can get to the better and the best. So actually, you're supposed to be kind of functioning at, like, in a way, 10 or 20% capacity, so you can go, oh, okay, I didn't think about that, or maybe think about this, or how about that, so you can get to the good, to the better and the best. Do you agree?
Yes, I think, well, I'll take it back to my product days. Until we launched a product, until we got something out in the world, it was just all educated guess. When we have something out in the world, we're getting real feedback. We validate the idea, invalidate the idea. It's why Indiegogo is such an exceptional thing, right? People can get validation on their concept before they even build something. So this minimum viable, this, like, get out what works so that you can improve on it, critical to momentum. Nobody wants to wait forever to achieve their dream.
And I think that that's really an important thing to tell people that are, like, new to this thing. You just have to get started, and you can completely screw up in the beginning. I mean, you can become totally wrong. In fact, get those mistakes out of the way early, like, make them faster and make a lot of them, so that by the time you get to the better and the best, you're, like, ready to move forward. And I've been doing this thing called Miracle Morning in the morning, where I'm reading and meditating and writing. And it's been really helpful to me to kind of go through that process again of, like, thinking things through and slowing stuff down, because it's so important to this stage of it is so important.
Yes. Well, and the measuring, the debriefing, the looking at the other side. So you do something, and I actually was just talking to my coach about this yesterday. There was a lot of things I tried early in my business, and they didn't work. So I moved on and I did other things. Well, now it's kind of time to try another variation of some of those things. And I'm like, oh, I already did that. Well, that's not actually true. This version of me didn't do it. And what I learned from doing it the first time, I put into play for doing it again. So that, don't discount the lessons on the other side of that, failure or success.
I'm reading GoPro, the book called GoPro, about being a better network marketer, right? So network marketing is part of what I do. And one of the things he talked about was functioning as an amateur, where you're just kind of, like, going through the motions and thinking, if I do this and this, then this is going to happen, and maybe that's, but making the decision to actually be professional, you actually do go back and revisit some of the things you did as an amateur, but you're just doing it in a different way. You're just doing it in a different way.
Well, and that's a very sports analogy of amateur versus pro. Is like, the pros practice, but their practice isn't just route. At the end of the practice, they go back and go, what worked, what didn't work, what can I improve on? They don't just keep doing the same thing over and over again and not assess how we can get incrementally better based on what we just did.
And it's also making that commitment, making that commitment to every day that I'm going to put forth my best effort to get to my goals. And I think sometimes we think, well, I can't put my best effort in until I'm ready to do the good and the better part. No, your best effort at the 20% part is your best effort. I mean, your effort's contingent upon where you are at that particular moment. So you're giving 100% towards your 20% good enough in the beginning. And then as you get more information, and as your plan evolves, and as you evolve, And as you get more users and more team members, then you go, okay, that worked, that didn't work. And you can start to fine tune. And just when you think you've got it all figured out, you're going to have to evolve again.
Right.
And, you know, for you and I, who've been doing this like startup thing, and entrepreneurs and many entrepreneurs that are listening to this, that idea is like, well, yeah, duh. But in the beginning, you think there's a pot at the end of the rainbow where you're going to figure out how to do everything perfectly. You're going to get all the right coaches and all the right information. And at the end of that, there's going to be this smooth sailing where nothing ever changes again. You need to remove that from your, just throw that out. There's old information that goes back to when people used to work for one company, get a pension and retire. That is no longer the way things work. No.
And there will always be challenges. I think part of the reason that we get into business is we like solving problems. So we just have to keep reminding ourselves and improve the quality of the problems that we're solving.
I love that. Improve the quality of the problems we are solving. Raise your dang standards.
Yes.
Like every damn day. Tony Robbins talks about that. And every time I rethink that, I think, I got to raise my standards. For myself, for the people around me, for my business, for the charities that I support. Like, raise your dang standards every day and evolve.
Right.
And if you do that, you're going to have an exciting life that people are going to want to live with you. If you stay stuck in the mud and you remain broken and you just stay out of ever moving forward, you're boring.
Well, and you're not going to ultimately achieve the things that you want to achieve. Like, everything you want is on the other side of uncomfortable and work.
Oh man, you know what? I'd actually say get used to uncomfortable.
Yes.
Get really comfortable with being uncomfortable, and get really comfortable with evolving every flipping day, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to talk about anything more in relation to planning? I want to make sure we get everything in that we wanted to chat on today.
I think we'll just recap. So at a high level, your plan will capture the purpose, the audience, your content and schedule, the end result you're driving to. And this is important because everything else should be leading to that. And then how to measure, how to see if it's working so that you can feed that information back through. Like, that at a high level is your plan. And sometimes when we do this for the first time, it can be like, oh, my brain, where am I going to, I don't know. There's so many thoughts. So in the apps and tools section of our conversation, I've discovered a couple ones that I like. Sometimes I just need to talk it out. If I try to start typing, then I'm sanitizing what I'm typing and it's not really a brainstorm. So I've discovered Otter, OTTER.ai. It's an app on your phone that you can dictate to, and it will transcribe.
Say it again, OTTER.
.ai.
Huh, that's a new one. Okay.
Yeah, so it's an app that you can dictate to. So I will go on a walk with my headphones in and talk to myself like a crazy person, and Otter will take it all down. And at the end, I can export it as a doc. I can copy and paste it to a note, or like at the end, there's a text transcript of my mental blur.
It makes the text that's brilliant. So it's better than just using your voice memo. So this part of the conversation is in the spirit of it. We'd want to give people a tool or an app that is going to help them to move forward. So this is a app and a tool, I guess, right?
Yeah. It's sort of, yes, both of those things.
Both of those things. And basically what it does is it takes the words and it puts it into copy, so you don't actually have to type it out. I love that. That's awesome. You are a total geek. I love that about you. This is something you actually use on a regular basis.
Yes. Well, especially when I'm really processing through something, because I've discovered for me, I'm much better to talk it out than to try to write it out or type it out, because those are very different parts of my brain.
Okay.
And so talking it out, and especially if I can move. So I literally pop in my earbuds and I go for a walk and I turn on Otter and I just like talk through everything that's in my head. And then I have a transcript and I can edit it or I can just send it off. I will dictate like emails if I wanted to kind of communicate with my audience about something, or blog posts or ideas, plans. This is my brain dump.
And then you can go back in and like turn on your writing spot by copying and pasting and fine tuning. And I like that you say that, because I do think that when you're just chatting it out with a girlfriend or something, or a colleague, you're judging it less. But the second you start to write it, you start to get into grammar and this is a comma, period, what's the right word. But I also think that that's for me, because I'm a visual journalist, I start with an interview and then I write a blog, and then that actually inspires a painting later on down the road. So I love that you separate it out, because each one of those things for me is different too. And what I'm wondering is, I got this new earpods to go in my ears when I'm riding my motorcycle.
Uh-huh.
And it has a stream underneath that you can pull so the wind doesn't rip it out of your ears.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if I can talk while I'm on my motorcycle and have it work. That would be great.
Ooh, that would be
I'm wondering if the wind's going to be too much, but that would be great, because I do some of my best thinking when I'm on my motorcycle.
Yes, I think finding the places that you do your best thinking. The gal who founded Spanx, her name fell out of my head right now, but her team discovered that she did her best thinking in the car, and so they would literally make sure she had 30 minutes to go drive around every day, because that's when like her brain was at its most creative. So figuring out your mode, if it's walking or motorcycle riding, if it's verbal or writing. Also, sometimes for me, typing is different than writing, and I need the motion. And I transitioned to taking notes in an iPad, like writing. So Notability is what I use on my iPad to like journal.
Right.
And it's pretty similar, but sometimes I will go back to paper and pen, because also the tactical feel is a little bit different.
Well, and also when you're actually writing, and I'm very concerned over children that are not learning how to write cursive. That's a whole other conversation for the day, but the actual physical act of writing activates a different part of your brain. So I write in the morning in a journal. Right. And I have an app called, another app. It's called, it flew out of my brain. I'll tell you in a minute. Day One, I think. Let me hang on. It's called Day One. Yep. And I have it on my phone, right? So I will save pictures and put a note in there that I want to save later. I'll use that kind of as a Cliff Note version for things that I want to inspire me later. Mm-hmm. So I love this new Otter thing. I'll try it on my motorcycle and let you know.
Yeah, I'll be interested to know about the wind, like how it does with the wind, but it'll be interesting. So yes, so Otter, and the other thing, if you're sort of a visual mind mapper, there's a mind mapping software called MindMeister, MindMeister, MindMeister. That's a web app where you can basically put down all your thoughts and kind of connect them in a big mind map.
Oh my God, I'm gonna have to check that out, because I actually do that in Illustrator now. You've seen my mind map.
I think I've seen one of them, but yeah, this is for people who don't have those skills. Like MindMeister is just a real easy way to, again, brain dump.
MindMeister.
MindMeister. MindMeister.
Gotcha. Those are two really awesome apps, and I didn't, we hadn't done this part pre-interview, so I'm just like, wow. This is the cool thing about partnering with people, is that there's things that I know that you don't know, and there's things that you know that I don't know, and I think it's pretty cool that I have a unicorn thing on my head.
I love your unicorn thing.
I think I'm going to have to wear it all day long.
I think you should.
Yeah, I'm my own unicorn today. I just love that. And what do you think? I got pigtails too. It's kind of fun.
Boom.
You know what I've learned? I can't wear pigtails on my motorcycle. With my windshield, it hits me in the face. Yeah, and I also can't wear hoodies anymore, because the hoodie pops up and it pulls around the side. Oops. See, look at that. My horn got in the way. It pulls around the side and it flops on my head. So I can no longer wear hoodies on my bike because of my windshield. I'm gonna have to get a bunch of sweaters that don't have a hoodie on them.
Right.
Yeah, here we go, evolving. So we've gone in with 34 minutes, so we want to be respectful of people's time. But Brandy, I really appreciate you. And I appreciate your resiliency with caring for your child during a pandemic and going to Colorado and doing your first episode from a living room or a dining room that's not yours, and finding a hat in the closet to be able to do their hat thing. So I really appreciate you very much, and the example that you bring to the world.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you and your little unicorn self also.
So we'll see you again on the third Thursday of the month here for Digital Evolution, an entrepreneur's guide to evolving online. You can always go to youtube.relentlesstalkradio.com and watch the entire series under the Digital Evolution playlist. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I love it.
Have a good rest of your day, Brandy. We'll talk to you later.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, guys, there's episode 6. It's the end of the 6th episode of the Digital Evolution. I hope to see you back here again on the third Thursday of the month at 9 a.m. live. You can always watch via replay or at YouTube at youtube.relentlesstalkradio.com. Thanks a lot. Take care.